Howdy neighbors, David here. And today on Boondock Stallions, we're going to be taking a look at my absolute favorite genre of fandom, horror movies. Sorry, I get a little excited. Horror movies are my favorite thing, and I've had way too much caffeine. But before we get started, I want to send a shout out to my viewers who got my trivia question on my last video right. Lobsters mate for life is a reference from Friends said by Phoebe. So, big shout out to Andy Larson, Justin Pratt, and Amy Watson. I salute you. Now, today we're going to be cherry picking 3 Nightmare on Elm Street movies and turning them into a Nightmare on Elm Street trilogy by applying the rules of the Scream franchise to the films. This was inspired by the machete cut of Star Wars, a new viewing order which was proposed by the Big Bang Theory television show. In it, you're supposed to watch Star Wars from A New Hope and then The Empire Strikes Back, and then jump to Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, as if Darth Vader and Yoda were having a bit of a collective flashback to the fall of the Jedi and the Republic and the rise of the Empire, and basically the last days that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker and everything that led him down the wrong path before jumping into Return of the Jedi. Now, this is a very unique and powerful way to watch the movies, and I really enjoyed it as it gives new perspective, and it also shows you that George Lucas really was paying attention to his original trilogy while making the prequels, because watching 3 and 6 back to back really does highlight this. Having said that, let's move into the Nightmare on Elm Street series and apply the rules of the first Scream movie to A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, in the first Scream movie, you find out the rules are pretty simple. No sex, no drinking or drugs, no investigating strange noises, and no saying things like, hello, is someone out there? Or I'll be right back. And it seems as if Scream scriptwriter Kevin Williamson was watching A Nightmare on Elm Street when he came up with these rules, as each rule directly applies to a death in the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Rule number 1, no sex. Well, Rod and Tina, the young couple that dies first in the movie, died right after having sex. And so, check. No drinking or drugs. I don't know if anybody was paying attention or not, but Nancy's mother, Marge Thompson, was either drunk or nursing a hangover from start to finish of this entire movie. So, big check. Last but not least, let's not forget about Johnny Depp, even though the rest of the world kind of forgot that he was even in this movie. But Johnny Depp, playing Nancy's boyfriend, Glenn, goes outside to investigate a strange noise and says, hello, is someone out there? And check, he's dead and splattered all over his bedroom walls. So, I mean, there you go. There's your first movie. Now, in turning this into a trilogy, we're going to have to cut some movies out of the work. Luckily for us, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 acts as a direct sequel to Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and completely ignores the events of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. So that's exactly what we're going to do and jump straight into Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And really, it does follow the rules of a trilogy or of a sequel. The body count is bigger, the death scenes are much more elaborate, and you can never, ever, under any circumstances, assume that the killer is dead, which seems like it should be in all horror movies and not just applied to sequels, but that's just me. It also serves as a second part in a trilogy as you get more information on Freddy. You find out that his mother was a nun and that over the Christmas holidays while working in a mental institution, she was locked in with 100 of the worst of the criminally insane and tortured, and other things happened to her which resulted in the birth of her son, Fred Krueger. Nancy also serves the role of the Obi-Wan Kenobi or the Gandalf or the Dumbledore in this, as she's one of the original Nightmare survivors, come back and even gray-haired to train the next generation of Freddy fighters for the fight that lies ahead of them before she herself dies at the end of the movie. Freddy continues to grow stronger, having in the first movie just being able to kill people in their dreams and make it a reality. Now he's gone and absorbed their souls onto his torso, like in a weird like an Absorbaloff. Yes. And hit the comments if you get the Absorbaloff reference. I'll shout you out in the next video. But he's collecting their souls on his body. Now, we're going to go ahead and skip straight to Freddy's Dead from here, as we're making a trilogy, and 4 and 5 really aren't necessary for my story. So Freddy's Dead picks up 10 years later in Springwood. Now, it's non-specific as to its 10 years after Part 5, so it works as a sequel to Part 3 because it could just be 10 years from there. And like in Alien 3, we start the movie by finding out that all the main characters that we loved and were looking forward to seeing in this didn't make it. They all died and aren't going to be a part of this movie, and it kind of sucks, but once again, it's Freddy's story, not just the kids. So, the rules of a horror trilogy are pretty simple. There are only 3. Rule number 1, the killer in this one is going to be superhuman. Stabbing him won't work, shooting him won't work. Basically, in the third one, you've got to cryogenically freeze his head, decapitate him, and burn his body into ashes. Rule number 2, anyone can die in this movie. This includes the main character. Sorry, Sid, but that means you. Rule number 3, forget the past. Anything you think you know about the past is fixing to come forward and bite you in the ass. All of these rules strictly apply to Freddy's Dead. Rule number 1, your killer is going to be superhuman and more formidable than ever. We've literally watched the progression of Freddy's powers grow in every single movie, starting with Nightmare on Elm Street 1. Like I said, he was just messing with reality and dreams. Nightmare 2, he's absorbing their souls, and by this Nightmare 3/Freddy's Dead, he's absorbing their souls and deleting their bodies from existence and even wiping the memory of them from everybody else's mind. So, check. His powers have gotten significantly stronger over the course of these 2 or 3 movies. Rule number 2, anyone can die in this one, and this includes the main character. Also the case, we end up following a character known as John Doe. Now, John Doe isn't his real name, as he has amnesia from the start of the film to the end of the film. We don't know what his real name was, and John Doe is just what they stuck up with at the children's shelter in the film. But we follow John around, and in the first hour, they kill him. We believe that he has a significant role to play and is crucial to Freddy's story, and then we find out that he's not. Freddy was just using him to bring him the person that he did need, and then did away with him. So, check. And then we get to the third rule, forget the past. Wow, does this one really super apply to the movie, because in the first 5 Nightmare on Elm Street movies, it's a very vague backstory for Freddy. We know that he was a child killer, we know that he got out on a technicality, and that the parents of Elm Street hunted him down and burned him alive, which started his revenge in dreams and coming back. But in this movie, we find out that not only was he raised in an orphanage after the death of his mother, Amanda Krueger, but he murdered many animals, he murdered his foster father, and he got married, had a child, and his child witnessed him murdering his wife / her mother, and we can just assume right there that that's what led to his arrest in the first place, because they never say what led to his arrest, and finding out that his daughter was the one that turned him in would have been a perfect way for the cops to go, this is our first big break. They got excited. They ran out. They arrested him and sent him to court. But since they rushed out without a warrant being signed, that was the technicality that got Freddy released and brings us to the rest of the movie. Now, Freddy's daughter is now the main character of the movie, and we have to follow her as she kills Freddy for all the sins that he's committed. Well, Stallions, that's my video. I really hope you enjoyed it and get to enjoy watching the Nightmare on Elm Street trilogy as I proposed. Like I said, it's just a new viewing order. I'm not trying to throw shade at any of the other Nightmare on Elm Street movies or the spin-offs or the remake. I thought they were all great and had their own points to them. I just wanted to give you guys a new viewing order that might be cool and interesting. If I forgot anything or overlooked anything that you want to comment on, like, share, subscribe, be excellent to each other, and have a good night, you guys. Party on.